I want 100% of the people who see my video be able to click on it and enjoy it. Every video that I upload, I want at least something that would make any Magic player be able to click it and enjoy it. Right? That's my main focus. 100% of the Magic audience can click it and enjoy it. Growing up with YouTube, I feel like, honestly, I'm one of the most highly qualified person to understand what makes a good YouTube video out of all the Magic players, because it's literally been almost my childhood, to be honest.
Harry, do you want to just introduce yourself? Maybe that's the best way to get this started.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'm Harry. I guess you could say full-time Magic YouTuber, clickbaiter, innovator. I don't know. Some people like to call me a decklist thief. You can find me stealing many different Magic players' decklists and giving credit, of course, to make content off of. Some people say I'm a Gab Nassif follower, kind of. You know, used to do Midweek Metagame podcast with Gab Nassif, Pat Robertson. Overall, just Magic lover, I guess you could say.
Hold on, I want to go into two things you said. First of all, who is not a Gab Nassif follower? Is there anyone that's actually not a Gab Nassif follower or a fan of Gab Nassif? I like to know who that is.
Ooh, that's a good point. I think I actually have received a few comments about how, you know, I think if someone hates Control, they kind of see Gab as the face of the Control players, and maybe they'll put their anger onto him.
Okay, so people might project onto Gab Nassif all the things they hate about a particular defining archetype of Magic. I get it. The other thing you said is just Magic deck thief. Like, do people actually claim that people steal decks these days? Because I feel like there's no originality left in Magic. Maybe that's like a whole nother topic in itself. But like, how could you not steal or be inspired by someone else's decks? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just, I think a lot of interested Magic comes out of deck building nowadays, because the typical net decker style phrase, you know, to label someone is quite more common than it used to be. Everyone's bringing what they think is the best deck to a tournament. Maybe F&M isn't as popular, so the most amount of content people are seeing is competitive content. Magic Online's highly competitive, so I think it's quite easy to be a decklist thief, because you can identify who actually made the decklist that I'm playing, since not many people are original nowadays.
Yeah, for sure. What's the funnest deck you've stolen? Like, you must have played a lot of decks in lots of formats, right? But is there anything that comes to mind?
The most fun deck I've stolen. I think the thing that surprises people the most is Vintage. So I have a lot of fun playing Vintage. I think actually my biggest break on YouTube and something I enjoyed the most was Coveted Jewel. I don't know if you know the card. It's a 6-mana artifact. When it enters the battlefield, you draw 3 cards and it taps for 3 mana of any color. That doesn't sound like something that would be good in Vintage, but turns out when you have something like Mishra's Workshop that taps for 3 for artifact mana, and you're playing Black Lotus and Grim Monolith, you can cast Coveted Jewel turn 1. You play Phyrexian Metamorph, you play Paradoxical Outcome, you can recast it, flicker it with Ghostly Flicker, copy it with Metamorph, whatever. I think that was not only probably my favorite deck choice, but definitely something that got a lot of eyes on my channel.
Yeah, was that the first video you did that got traction, or was it just one of your favorite videos to do?
So that video was my first big video. I remember I actually uploaded it and then went to the Legacy event in Paris to actually go stay with Gab Nassif, and it was doing really well when I uploaded it. And then when I was in Paris, I wasn't uploading videos, but my YouTube channel was still getting like 5,000 views a day. It was like a big deal at the time, as that video was getting 5K a day. And there was a plane ticket mix-up, because I didn't book my plane tickets. Someone else booked my plane ticket for me, and there was miscommunication. So I just stayed 5 days extra in Paris. And over those 5 days, I got like 25, 30,000 views on my channel, and all of them was on the Coveted Jewel video. I was thinking, wow, that was a big deal at the time. And it actually opened my eyes, because the title of that video is something along the lines of, "This commander card is breaking Vintage." Because at that time, the Coveted Jewel deck was good, but only like around then was it really top 8ing the challenges, because it was actually bugged on Magic Online. Coveted Jewel has this weird wording at the bottom. I did describe it. You draw 3 cards when it's the battlefield. You can tap it for 3 mana. But it says, if an opponent would attack you and you don't block, or it's worded weirdly, if an opponent would attack you and at least one of their creatures aren't blocked, they take the jewel and they draw 3 cards and they untap it. And it was bugged on Magic Online where it did not have to be... if you blocked all of your opponent's creatures, they would steal the jewel, is what I'm trying to say. So it was meant to be, if you block all your opponent's creatures, they wouldn't get the jewel, but the bug on Magic Online, if you attack with anything, they steal the jewel and untap it, so you could not play it in a challenge, because it couldn't be anyone who just played like a Snapcaster Mage or something, even if you could block. So around then, it blew up. I did the Commander title, and I think that video got about 70,000 views. And that to me is like the pivotal point when I was like, okay, I need to focus on specific things, I guess, if we're going to get into that.
Yeah. At the risk of backtracking a little bit, like, how did you even decide to get into YouTube in the first place?
Oh, wow. So I think I started streaming on Twitch when I was 17, 18. I'm 22. So I think I started streaming about 4 years ago. At that time, rental services on Magic Online weren't too popular, and I was just about to go into university. I bought Blue-White Control on Magic Online. I just won my town, Reading Town in the UK. We don't really have Magic tournaments. We have an F&M, but there was a guy in my town who had a friend in a town nearby that owned an online card store. So they actually managed to get this online card store to organize a big tournament. I think like 100 people, 150 people turned up, which is huge. My F&M gets like 8 people. So I actually won that with Blue White Control, used that money to buy on Magic Online. And then I started streaming. And then at that time, YouTube seemed really underdone in the Magic category, and I still think it's really underdone. So I was like, okay, gonna rip.
No doubt.
I'm gonna make my Twitch channel. My original idea is my Twitch channel is actually a live YouTube. So at that time, I was doing YouTube introductions at the start of the stream. I go, hello YouTube, welcome to my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe, whatever. Then I would play, and every round I would say, okay, back for the second round, back for the third round, and I'd kind of use Twitch chat as a live YouTube comment section, stuff like this. So that was kind of my first logic, be Twitch and make it like YouTube live. And I did that honestly for like 2.5, 3 years, up to just after the coronavirus lockdowns restrictions ended in the UK. And then I had a break because I was doing a master's degree in maths, and then just recently after the degree, literally like 8 months ago, I was like, okay, full-time Magic.
So you got your math degree and now you're like full-time Magic.
yeah, actually. There, at university when you do math, they say, oh, you can go into any company, like do whatever you want with the degree.
Desirable skill set, all that, right?
Yeah, but the options are quite boring. I mean, my best friend who has the same degree as me is doing pension transferring, and he just kind of looks at emails all day, and he sees how much money you have. I don't know how it works in China, but in the UK, if you go throughout your life working, a lot of jobs have like pensions that they take off your pay. So maybe over the course of 6 jobs, you'll be in 4 different pension funds. So he just groups them together, tells you how much maybe you lost, how much you charged. I mean, it's like so boring. Mm-hmm. He does get some funny stories out of how, like, you'll hear one recently. I'll try not to give too much of the details because I don't know.
Try to anonymize it, right?
Yeah. Basically, this 2 brothers sold a massive company in a sort of building vehicles style company. They're like building these vehicles. They sold the company for like 60 million. and they split it 50-50 because they're brothers. And both brothers went to this company because they have an investment section. And they both invested £10 million. One brother left it in for a year, and the other brother, what did he do? He said they were like emailing him every day, like, give me updates on my investment. And then he just randomly, after 2 months, pulled it all out, had to pay like £2 million in like taxes and whatever, because it was like locked away in some tax accounts, burned £2 million, and the other brother has made so far like 8% on the 10 million he put in. You just hear like these stories of people burning cash and like whatever. So I guess you do get that type of story out of it. I messed that up big time, but my friend can recite it like, it's the back of his hand.
No, that was fine. I mean, even with stories like that, I'm sure your friend's job is not as exciting or stimulating as getting like 5,000 views on a YouTube video, or just like seeing things like unexpectedly come up, right? I mean, that is something unexpected, but it's like someone else's life that comes up unexpectedly, so it's different. But what was it like those 2-3 years streaming? Like, it takes quite a bit of commitment to stream, no?
Yeah, definitely. I think Magic streaming is interesting because the thing that's really awkward is I feel like, well, I don't know. I actually started to dislike streaming because something for YouTube is a big deal, is making mistakes in it, like a big mistake. Let's say you make a fundamental mistake in the game. Maybe, I don't know, block a 2-2 on a 3-3 thinking your 2-2's a 3-3 or something. Just complete chump blocking, whatever. It's really like disheartening because it kind of ruins the YouTube video. YouTube tells you when people click off a video and like when, someone didn't like it or whatever. And it's like, for me, my big thing is YouTube actually, I would argue that the Magic YouTube makes more money than Magic Twitch. And for me, a big deal was growing my Magic YouTube. It really frustrated me if I was like live on Twitch, the YouTube video messed up, kind of just ruins everything. So the mentality on Twitch was a lot worse for me because I want to make my YouTube videos as best as possible. And if it's live, and you got your live reaction or whatever, it didn't feel so great. So it definitely requires a lot of effort, and I have a lot of respect for streamers like Aspiring Spike, who sit there all day playing brews, have to answer the same generic question every 10 minutes. You got people giving you deck lists from like 2005 asking if it's viable in 2023. So stuff like this, like, it takes a lot of effort and patience, which is something that I'm not perfect with, especially when I was like 18, 19. There are some clips of me raging really hard. A big pressure, actually, that a lot of people don't realize is that when you're hosting a podcast with Gab Nassif and he's top 8ing a Pro Tour and a Modern Challenge every other week, you definitely want to try and at least put up some results. And there was a time where I was playing the Modern Challenge every weekend. I wasn't doing great. And I think it didn't help because I won a Pioneer Challenge, like the second ever Pioneer Challenge when the format got released. I was like, okay, I'd like to do something again. And I think I lost like 2 win-ins like in a month for the top 8, and that like, there's a very famous clip of me like raging, saying like, F Magic, I hate this game. And what I didn't realize is that Gab Nassif had my stream up with like 1,000 people watching, and they're all kind of laughing at me raging and whatnot. So there are definitely, some highs and lows from Twitch. There are some bad moments clipped.
Let's put it in perspective though, right? Because like basically at 17, 18, you were already performing in front of like thousands, if not more people live. And you were already playing Magic at a high level, because I've seen some of your Magic gameplay, and I know you like to say you have casual gameplay, but I mean you're a decent Magic player. Like, I mean, I guess everyone is a casual player compared to a Gab Nassif or somebody like that. But you're pretty good at Magic. You're probably like in the upper percentile in the world at Magic, I dare say. Or I guess anyone who's really logged into Magic Online probably already is, right? And I'm just thinking about when I was 17 or 18, I barely knew how to talk. So I put it in perspective, you're doing incredibly well for your age, like right now, and also 3-4 years ago. That's kind of why I wanted to talk to you. You also figured out something super early on, which is like to actually make content for YouTube as you're doing Twitch. I actually feel like a lot of people still haven't figured that out, and it's 2023. Like, I've talked to a lot of people who are like, I should have done YouTube like X years ago, but now they're kind of captive by doing Twitch, if that's like, maybe that's too strong a term, but I feel like you figured something out early on. Like, how did you figure that out? Like, were you just very intentional from the beginning, like, I want to do YouTube, or what was it?
I think a big inspiration, I don't know if you're aware of him, is Ludwig, the Twitch streamer.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Ludwig's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. His logic actually was exactly that. I'm going to make a Twitch channel. I'm going to use YouTube to move people over to my Twitch.
Because Twitch discoverability is shit. So it's like he was using YouTube to funnel. Maybe it's the other. Yeah, I guess he was using YouTube to funnel into Twitch, and maybe also Twitch into YouTube. Yeah.
It's vice versa, and that's what's so strong about it. You know, when you're not live on Twitch, no one knows you're a Twitch streamer. When you've got a YouTube video, at least someone's seeing it every 10 minutes or whatever.
So that's where you got your inspiration from.
Yeah, definitely at the start, Ludwig was a big one. Just kind of having a YouTube addiction, actually. I feel like I'm in the right age where I remember I lived in Canada for 10 years or 11 years, from like 1 till 11. And when I was
all right, I'm actually Canadian, so by the way. I've lived in China for 10 years, but I grew up in Canada, so. Yeah,
okay. Yeah. No, exactly. I lived in Oakville, near Toronto. I don't know if you know.
I know of Oakville. I've never actually been there, but I've definitely been to Toronto, yeah.
Yeah. And when I was young, we obviously had a TV and some computers, but my dad had like this computer in the basement that was like, I don't even know, maybe in like a boiler room, and it was like connected to the TV, and sometimes he would like put a YouTube video on the TV. But back then, YouTube, actually, to be honest, was kind of like porting really old TV shows onto the TV, or like watching highlights. You weren't really getting news. So maybe like 10, 11, I was aware of YouTube and interested in it. And then moving to the UK, I was moving around the country like while my parents tried to find work. And, you use YouTube. The DS was really popular then. You could get YouTube on the DS, DSi, stuff like that. So, growing up with YouTube, I feel like, honestly, I'm one of the most highly qualified person to understand what makes a good YouTube video out of all the Magic players, because it's literally been almost my childhood, to be honest, and my teenage years.
Mm-hmm. And I know he gets referenced way too much these days, so I apologize. But it's almost like that Mr. Beast kind of like studying how videos are done, and just like, and maybe like as a consumer, you already like it's in your blood, right? Like, it's basically people in your, oh man, I'm old, so I'm just gonna say people in your generation just like grew up with YouTube, right? Like, I grew up in an era where there was no like internet. Even I still remember like the 90s when there was no internet and you were not even alive back then. But ICQ just came out. But anyways, I'm totally going to get off my lawn right now. But just like growing up like in YouTube, like like it's in your blood, right? You know how to make, like, what's entertaining, which is what I found in your Magic videos. Is like the reason why your videos are so captivating is because they're really not Magic YouTube videos. They're just YouTube videos that happen to be about Magic. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I've actually taken from Mr. Beast, because I actually watched him when he had less than 100,000 subscribers, because he started in a
Was it when he was like counting to like X number? Is that back then? Okay, yeah, that was
there was
crazy,
that. He did like a reading the dictionary from the start to the end. He did all this crazy stuff that actually went quite big in like my area of YouTube, like the young, crazy YouTube stage. But what is it? Mr. Beast, his logic is, I want 100% of the people who see my video be able to click on it and enjoy it. And I think a lot of thing that Magic players miss, let's take just like any channel. Command Zone do this the best, actually, I would say. Command Zone is a channel that on average any Magic player can enjoy it because everyone understands Commander and it's presented really well. However, if you take the average person who goes to F&M, let's say it's a drafter. A drafter is never going to care about someone optimizing Blue-Red Murktide in Modern for the 74th sideboard card, you know? So what I've tried to do is every video that I upload, I want at least something that would make any Magic player be able to click it and enjoy it. Right? That's my main focus. 100% of the Magic audience can click it and enjoy it.
It's clickbaity in the best way, right?
Yeah, I get a lot of criticism about my content being clickbait or maybe misleading. I can agree to some extent. I mean, I am trying to make you look at my video and click, but you have to realize that when my videos put on YouTube, it's not next to every Magic creator. I'm next to, let's say, Mr. Beast. I'm next to, I don't know, BBC News. I'm literally next to every YouTube channel you can think of that's in the recommended page. If I'm there, I'm next to them, and I have to draw your attention better. I try to make keywords and word things so that if you've watched my channel before, you know what the video is. I think the biggest criticism I get is if I do a video on the Pauper format, I just say, like, this 6-cent combo is insane. And people are, like, criticize, like, oh, you made it seem like a Modern video, I'm not going to watch this or whatever. You wouldn't have watched it anyways. I've got your click, I've got your comment, I've got your dislike.
They watched it, right? Because how can you comment it unless you're in the video, right? So it worked. Yeah,
and I think that's something that actually makes my channel more discovered, because at the end of the day, maybe someone who only cares about Modern would click on it, watch it, and actually enjoy the Pauper format. And you've got to be prepared for haters to have fans. And yes, you have to clickbait nowadays on YouTube to get views. I think there's no way to avoid it. If you want to not do clickbait, it does work in some cases, but it's very difficult to survive in the gaming scene without at least some sort of misleading or at least exaggerated title. But I think it's completely justified if your content is, you've put effort into your content, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally with you. I feel like that's just a game you're in. So if you're in the game, don't complain about the rules, right? It's like I wouldn't play Magic and complain that there's an upkeep during my turn. Like that's just the game, right? And also, I think that your videos, sure. I mean, the titles might be what they are, but you're not untruthful, right? It's like in the end, you're still, even if I clicked on it on your video because I like One of Nothing, I want to see you play with it. It's a dredge or discard deck, so it's aligned with what the title is. And if you didn't title it that way, like you said, maybe 99% of Magic players wouldn't even click on it. Like if you just said this is an Asmo League or something, like that's just so boring. Like who's going to click on it, right? So I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like the end justifies the means as far as YouTube is concerned, and I also feel like we shouldn't be too caught up in these like principles or be high and mighty about how we achieve our aims. Like it is what it is, right?
Yeah, I think some people, at the end of the day, no matter who you are, let's take Mr. Beast for example. If you will always have someone who dislikes or disagrees or hates what you do. And it's either done through, claiming that your title's clickbait or whatever. I'm used to it at this point. I've had I actually kind of laugh when someone says that my content is clickbait, because you've got to be completely desensitized to hate, or you won't be able to stay afloat on YouTube. You will get hate even if you title your videos like Asmo League 4-2 or 4-1 or whatever. You will always get hate. So, no matter how you want to do your YouTube content, got to be prepped for someone to kind of want to stomp on your foot or something.
Yeah, I also want to ask you, Harry, like on the technical side, how did you get so good with your YouTube videos, like with the cuts, the intros? Like the whole reason I started discovering your content was because Anurag Das said like, hey, Harry, just like he tweeted one day like Harry makes the best like Magic YouTube videos, full stop. And I just started watching your stuff and I couldn't stop. Like how did you learn all like the technique of, or the technical aspects of it?
A long process, It's almost similar to like cooking. You can't just go from nothing to like cooking whatever. I actually started doing intros. This idea of a high quality intro started in the Twitch to YouTube days. I actually used to kind of take a screenshot of the Magic Online deck list, and I would maybe have it like fade in on the screen and talk about, and I would have cards like just like pop up on the screen and stuff when I talked about them. And it slowly and slowly gotten better. And when I actually became full-time 8 months ago, I said to myself, okay, every video I'm going to do a new editing technique. I'm going to try something different. I'm going to see if people like this song or that effect or this sound effect or whatever. If you watch like a video from 6 months ago, you'll see sound effects and editing styles that maybe I don't use anymore, because you just keep trying something new. If the video gets a lot of views, it's most likely not a coincidence. I think a big mistake on YouTube is thinking that videos going viral is a coincidence. It's generally not a coincidence. My most viral video is 160,000 views with the most casual deck you could theoretically think of that would fit in any of my style of competitive content. It's not a coincidence. What is the most average player, casual player? The editing on the video. The editing on the video is the first time I used a montage-style song where I don't say anything and I make clips go with the beat. So the first time I do a very nice editing strategy with a very casual deck that anyone can enjoy with new editing styles went super viral. So it's stuff like trying things new every time, don't fall onto a train track system. A lot of YouTubers will get stuck at the same amount of views because their content is exactly the same, and that's why.
Definition of insanity, right? Like, do the same thing, expect a different result, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much easier said than done. I mean, I just feel like for YouTube, you're constantly pushing the envelope. And it sounds like from what you said earlier that you really studied the metrics, like where the watch drops off and things like that. And you really try to figure out, like, how do I make this more engaging or have a longer watch time and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I think a big thing actually early on was what people were doing is I obviously can't say hand on heart, but I think a lot of casual players watch my content for the deck tech, and a lot of more competitive leaning players watch the whole video for the gameplay, because I think only 80% of my viewers actually watch the introduction. So 20% of people skip straight to the gameplay, 80% watch the gameplay, and there's like a big drop-off as soon as Magic Online comes on the screen, huge drop-off. So I was like, how do I blend both? So that's why you see now my most recent content, you'll see me pull up cards on the screen, like nice colors, proper explanations, highlighting things, because you lose attention really quick. As soon as you show Magic gameplay, people just don't care. So that's why I'm trying to make it seem like the whole video is a gameplay kind of integration. You'll see me use gameplay in the introduction now, cards pulling up in the, like, everything like that. It's trying to make sure that you click on the video, you want to actually watch 100% of the video, because a lot of people, I've kind of been, torn between what actually makes YouTube push a video. And a lot of people think if you like and comment on the video, it will make YouTube push the video. I actually disagree. I don't think liking or commenting does anything for YouTube to push the video. I think what makes YouTube push the video is obviously you click on the video, but it's actually the watch time. What does YouTube want someone to do on their website? Watch videos.
Stay on their website, basically.
Exactly. So if YouTube sees one of your viewers click your video but only watch 1 minute of a 10-minute video, that's actually bad for their website, right? So they will, I would assume, would show it to less people. So nowadays, I actually never ask for a like or comment at all. I used to ask it all the time. The only thing I care about is subscribe, because if you click the subscribe button, that means you will click a future video. If you're willing to subscribe to me, you click a future video, I actually want to be in your sub box. I don't care about like, don't care about comment. It's subscribe and actually watch the whole video, I think. Makes a viral video.
I think you're right. Like and subscribe, like and comment are just so secondary. I'm sure they matter somewhat, like in terms of signal, but it's not the dominant signal for sure. Like 100%. It's got to be the watch time or like something else, right? As you said. So you're so analytical and intentional with YouTube videos? Like, are you like this in other parts of your life too? Is it with magic? Is it with like other things? Is it with math? Is it with other parts of your life? Or are you just like super deep into YouTube for some reason and nothing else?
I think it just comes from magic, right? You know, playing magic from a semi-young age kind of taught me that in every spot that you're in, there generally is the best decision that you can make, no matter if luck is involved. You know, when you put, let's say, Reed Duke in the finals of the Pro Tour and he's mulligan down to 3, he's not going to concede. He's going to make the best decision you can possibly make with 3 cards. That's exactly what I try to do. You know, you can argue there's an element of luck to YouTube, but then how come, you know, I've been able to climb from 4,000 subscribers to however many in 6 months in the Magic category, which is arguably quite a small category. You got to make the best decision that you believe in. That's kind of how I look at it, rather than an analytical sense. It's more just philosophy from Magic, I think, and trying to be a competitive Magic player. Do I do it anywhere else in life? I don't think so. I'm actually quite lazy outside of YouTube. I mean, I'm in a lazy... once a month, I feel very lazy, and it's actually hit me recently. I haven't uploaded a YouTube video in 5 days, so I get these kind of you overwork and then you just bomb out, and that's how I've been. So, I wouldn't say I'm super analytical outside. I'm a very logical person, I think. Yeah, maybe I'm analytical. Sure, I'll take it.
I mean, that's inspiring, man. I do believe also that there's not really that much luck involved with YouTube. Like, you take shots at posting videos, and some people grow faster than others, but ultimately the quality determines where you end up. And I think, sure, maybe the luck is like, do I get 120,000 views instead of like 100,000 views on my video? But if it's a high quality video and people watch it and people talk about it, people share it, it's got to go somewhere, right? I think for the most part, I do believe that YouTube is fairly, what's the word? Meritocratic? Yeah, like input, your hard work determines what happens, right? Sure, there's the person that gets super lucky, or I shouldn't say that, like, because I interviewed Spice 8 Rack. How did you find overnight success in YouTube? And after talking about it, we realized it wasn't overnight success. It was like all these things that he did in the past as a performer. It was like years and years of like doing other things that were adjacent to YouTube and the craft, as it were, that actually made him become an overnight success in YouTube. So I don't think, even if you're the person that uploaded one YouTube video and it blew up, there's probably something to it, and it's not just random luck, right? So
yeah, I think exactly what you said. I mean, if you upload a video that you wouldn't watch 100% the way through, why would you expect other people to watch it? And that's why I'm actually focusing on 10-minute Magic videos, because I would not watch more than 10 minutes of a Magic video. And I think if you upload a 2-hour league on Magic Online, it really loses people's interest. And that's what I'm focusing on, uploading a video that I personally would want to watch, because why would I upload something I wouldn't enjoy? Someone else did.
So, Harry, what are your goals when it comes to YouTube? Do you have any future goals in mind?
I think the biggest goal to work towards is the 100,000 subscriber mark on YouTube, because they give you the silver play button. That would be what I'm hoping to potentially achieve. There are some ways to look at projected statistics, and it seems to be I could get 100,000 subscribers in just over a year, but I don't really know.
That's assuming your current content trajectory, like you crank out the same high quality videos, if not higher quality videos on a regular basis, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right now I'm getting about 5,000 subscribers a month, so it kind of makes sense. Maybe keep getting 5,000, maybe I'll get a bit more and a bit more. Maybe if I get 6,000, you know, that's looking to be like, what, over 70,000 subscribers in 12 months if you average like 6,000 subscribers a month, something like that. So you have to get a lot of subscribers to get 100,000. I never really thought it'd be that difficult, but it is really, really hard to get. You know, you have to. Right now, I'm getting about 150 subscribers a day, and that's something that I never thought would be possible. But that's not even enough to get 100,000 subscribers in a year. Like, if my channel was at 0 and I was getting 150 subscribers a day, that's not even enough to get in a year. So Yeah, it's tough to get 100,000, but that would be my big goal.
That's insane. I mean, yeah. So I actually follow a popular YouTube channel with 1 million subscribers, and they were saying that in the last month or two, they hadn't uploaded anything, but they were still getting reasonable growth. So I'm just wondering, for you at your stage, when you have 24, 25K subs, do you just get, it sounds like you do, but in order for you to get to your goal of 100K, you have to create more videos so that the growth happens more quickly. Is that how it works?
Yeah, I monitor this actually. When I uploaded, so YouTube tells you how many views you've had in the past 48 hours. And if I upload a video every other day, I will get 40,000 views a day. But when I stop uploading, I'll get good views for 2 days after the video, obviously, because that first video takes 2 days. And then it just completely plummets, and I get 10,000 views a day over all my videos. So, and that will depreciate. YouTube videos die really fast in the Magic category. I don't know about others, like science channels, for example. You know, I don't know, science video on how do planes crash or whatever. That will always get views because generally that doesn't change. But what does change is people's interest, or maybe they know about a modern deck or whatever. There's not good rewatchability, and I think actually a Magic video kind of dies after 2 days. I think it's really bad in the Magic category. I don't know why. It just dies so fast.
I don't know if this is something you ever thought about, but does it make sense then to do non-Magic videos to get to your numbers goals, right? Because maybe different categories of things have different, or you're just so passionate about Magic content and you want to keep it on brand that you want to just keep doing it this way.
I think it's just the easiest choice for me. Right now I'm making a decent amount of money. I've got a very good method. I've got a good team of people that help me select decks and stuff. I think kind of be a wasted opportunity, especially since, like, the big thing for me now is not getting a job. Is fortunately I'm making a bit more money than my friend who is doing the pension transfers. And YouTube is a job where, you know, obviously your pay can go down exponentially, but it can also go up. And as long as the numbers are good and things are going well, I'm enjoying myself, I'm going to keep trying at it for the YouTube. Yeah, I think, you know, the 100,000 goal is not like life or death for me. I don't mind if I don't make it there. Kind of, it's just me seeing where I can go with this, you know. I'm in a privileged position to be able to play Magic and make decent money from it. I'm just kind of rolling with it till it dies.
Is that also why you've decided to become more behind the scenes? This is kind of a topic shift into the podcast, right? Like, I think you recently said something about wanting to be more behind the scenes, or maybe continue to stay on as an editor, but maybe not in front of the microphone. I mean, that's kind of a weird metaphor, I guess, because people don't necessarily see you unless it's a video podcast. But to not be front and center, is that also part of it? Is just like wanting to focus more on YouTube or other pursuits?
I stepped down from the Midweek Metagame podcast just because it's really hard to balance so many projects, and I think that the podcast scene in Magic is very difficult, and with me not really playing tournaments and, you know, not really playing the side of Modern or Pioneer that they're, you know, Pat and Gab are talking about, I just felt kind of out of place on Midweek Metagame. Definitely think that my time is more well spent just editing the podcast for them and focusing on my content, and also just downtime. I mean, YouTube videos take a long time to make, and making a YouTube video during the day and then having to record a podcast and edit the podcast was definitely rough on the Tuesdays or Wednesdays we recorded.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's also so interesting, like, when YouTube is so fast-paced and instantly you get feedback, to then have a podcast where it's a lot more, how do I say, like, a lot more analog, like it's a lot more traditional. It's like you record something, you don't know how many people listen to it. You kind of do, but you need to wait for numbers to come back. There's no like immediate feedback as when you're streaming or uploading a video. Like, it sounds like you started podcasting first, right? Before doing YouTube.
Yeah, I actually, I don't even know. My first podcast was actually with two people from my FNM. in my town, Reading, we used to have like 2 or 3 cars I would drive to the PPTQs that used to be nearby. And me and my friend Josh and Alvaro, us 3 started a podcast. That went for a while, but they were both 2 guys with full-time jobs. And I was a student streaming on Twitch part-time. So that podcast kind of fell through. And then it was actually Patrick Robertson, who kind of was friends with me at the time. We met through Twitch chat. He said, look, if you want to do a podcast every Monday, I'm free. At that time he was just married, no kid. So him and I started after 2 episodes. Gab actually messaged us and was like, where was my invite? Because we met through Gab's Twitch chat, yeah. So then we were like, okay, Gab, do you want to be on the podcast? Then he was like, yeah. So then I think it's like episode 3 of Midweek Metagame, or maybe episode 4, I don't quite remember. Gab joined the squad. And then from then, that was like 3 years ago. From then, we did loads and loads of episodes, but it's only been very recent I felt like left out, because I just don't play competitively anymore compared to them. Just kind of feel almost left out.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you're busy with other things, like making awesome YouTube videos. And I do want to ask you though, because you've done so many episodes of the podcast. Like, are there things that are particularly memorable that you would take away, like maybe lessons learned? If that's, I don't know if that's like too heavy-handed a term, but just looking back on that, you guys have done what, like over 150, 160 episodes? Like, what's that experience been like? What did you learn?
What did I learn? Honestly, I think that Midweek Metagame was more of like a passion project, like good competitive support. Like, if you want to be a competitive player, you have to like reflect or speak about deck lists or at least something. So kind of having just, 3 dudes that want to talk about Magic every week competitively, it's how you get better, right? You got to listen to people disagreeing with you, agreeing with you. Maybe public feedback was somewhat useful as well. That was more like helping me become a better competitive player rather than content creator. Interesting.
So it's almost like, I mean, obviously you're talking to 2 people who are very good at Magic as well. So it's almost helping you become a better player. More than like I learned something from doing the content, but it was just more like an opportunity every week to discuss strategy and share ideas. That's what it sounds like, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was something at that time when we started the podcast, my logic was, if you count your viewer base as like a tree, you want as many roots from the bottom of the tree to kind of get new viewers. So it was something along this lines, that I wanted as many forms of content as possible that I'm producing. But now I'm so focused on YouTube, I think that it doesn't really apply anymore because YouTube's discoverability is so good.
What's it like to podcast with Gab Nassif?
It's good. I mean, literally every week, one Facebook message like, I played Pioneer this week and some Legacy, whatever. Hop on, talk. He'll criticize you or agree, and then say goodbye and leave. I think there wasn't much preparation to the podcast really. Every week, we kind of just send 1 or 2 Facebook messages. Can you do tomorrow? Yes. What did you play? That kind of thing. Hop on, talk, leave. That's how it rolled. For a long time, I kind of would share my ideologies with Gab on like what I think he should do with his content after his stream. We talked about some things with his Twitch, YouTube, stuff like this. That side of things was fun, but nothing more than just, average friendship. I think a lot of people, there's 2 things that I find interesting about the public, like some people's opinions on pro players. One is that they think every card in their hand is solid gold, and they'll always have the nutted cards. And another thing is like they think there's some sort of these like robot non-humans that are really hard to be friends with. But at the end of the day, Gab is just a really good friend of mine. Stayed at his house. He is a normal human being. He does things that everyone else does, So just people, really. It's a fun time, and there's nothing stopping you kind of doing your own thing with your friends. It doesn't even have to be a podcast. You can just come every week, talk about Magic, and leave.
Yeah, I'm sort of asking you because this is a podcast in itself, but I did have like so many different interactions with Nassif over the years. I interviewed him for Humans of Magic like a couple years ago. He and I have always been friendly. I guess we might have like met once or twice, but mostly on the internet. And he's always been super nice about just helping me with stuff, whether it's like, hey, I'm going to interview Harry. Can you tell me more about Harry? Or just random things, right? I think he's, at least for me, he always seems like the same guy all the time. Like it's the same guy that's on the stream, that's on the podcast, that I'm Facebook messengering with. Is that even a verb? Anyway, Facebook messaging with. So yeah, that I'm glad to hear that's also kind of been your experience too. So
yeah, I think, what was it? Recently when I stayed with him in Paris, it just felt like the perfect life. He wakes up, do you want to stream? Yeah. Eat food, stream, get off, go to the shops, come back, stream, whatever. Yeah. It is literally Gab's life. He wakes up, eats a bit of food, goes live, goes offline, goes buy something or goes for a walk, comes back, streams. He's living the life.
Yeah. Just living Magic, essentially, right? I guess you both are, but in your own different ways. So. Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
What about your other host, Pat? I mean, I guess his kid is a little bit older now because you guys started when he was just a new dad. But like, what's the experience been like podcasting with him? Or you guys are? I guess you guys have been friends for a long time, so maybe it's just hanging out more than anything, right?
Yeah, I've never met Pat in person, actually.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, even though he's in the UK, he's Australian but lives in the UK. He lectures at the University of Cambridge, I think, for chemistry. But things have never lined up. There was one event I was meant to go to that he was going to. There's a big company in the UK called Axion now that hosts big events, and I think he went to one and I couldn't go. But no, never met in person. Yeah, we started together, obviously, and he had his kid, I would say around episode 70?
Oh, okay. So it's not like at the very beginning. I get you.
Nah. Yeah. The podcast is older than his kid. So there used to be a time where he would have to hold his kid in one hand and do the podcast, kind of like pat. You would hear him actually patting his back. Like we'd have to do like cry breaks and stuff like this. It was definitely an interesting time, but no, yeah. He's a great guy. Really, really, really smart. I've listened to some of his chemistry stuff outside of the podcast. I'm just like, you know too much science for me.
He might say the same about you and math or YouTube or something else, right?
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully. He's at a different level of smart, trust me. He knows, he shoots, rays out of a diamond and all these crazy things, so.
I also want to ask you a bit about your background. So you mentioned that you lived in Canada before. Oh, by the way, I grew up on the West Coast, so I don't know Toronto as well. I grew up in Vancouver, but you grew up in Canada, and your parents then moved the family to the UK. So are you actually from the UK, and then you moved to Canada because I can't tell. I guess from your accent, you're born and raised in the UK. Is that what it was?
All over the place. So I was actually born in the UK for don't know how old I was, but almost as a baby, went to Canada, lived there for 10, 11 years, and then moved back to the UK. What's actually funny is I actually lived near the hospital I was born in by coincidence. Just my dad got a job near the hospital I was born in, which is surprising. My dad's from Singapore. That's where the Chinese side comes from. My dad's side of the family is Chinese, and my mom is was born in the UK. My dad met her at university.
Oh, okay. While they were going to school, while he was going to school, at least, yeah, or both.
Yeah, I'm very into Chinese culture, I guess you could say. I actually because obviously YouTube is such a very new area.
Yeah.
I make sure that it's not the only thing that I do. So I actually take Mandarin class twice a week, private tuition, to make sure I have something.
How good is your Mandarin?
我会说一点点中文。
你会说一点，那我也会说一点。Yeah, it's pretty good. So how long have you been taking the lessons for?
6个月。
6个月. I gotta translate this for actual listeners. So 6 months, I believe, is what you said, right? Okay,
yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. So you guys don't speak Mandarin at home, or it just switched to English really at a really young age, or what?
My dad doesn't speak any Mandarin. I just kind of started it as a side project. I have a very close friend in Taiwan, actually. He came to university in the UK. Made friends with him last year. And I started to study Chinese as like on my own, as like a fun little hobby. So I did like a year of like reading, like learning random phrases, whatever. I wasn't very good. Yeah. And then I got a tutor 6-7 months ago, just twice a week. Yeah, I like to kind of go to the supermarket and speak with people, stuff like this, try and actually learn Mandarin, because I'm maybe looking at like going to Beijing. There's a good scheme to teach English over in China for like 6 months to a year. Mm-hmm. Kind of have backup options, really, because I don't think YouTube lasts forever. No matter who, YouTube is bound to die, or or magic, either or my career. One of those three is bound, literally 100% likely to happen. Magic could die on YouTube, my channel could die, or YouTube can lose popularity or monetization. One of the three will happen, so I want to have some backup plans. But yeah.
I mean, I never heard that. Like, I know having backup plans is good, but I highly doubt YouTube is going away for the next 50 years. And I also highly doubt Magic will go away in the next 50 years. But hey, I might eat my words, so you never know, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just having a backup. I mean, also my sanity. I don't know how long I can play Magic and 100% pursue it, because it is so difficult to come up with a new idea like every 2 days and then do it for like 3 years. To me, I think it's going to become a bit repetitive at some point or something like this.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to have to become like one of those professional comedians that pay someone to write jokes for them and only they're like generating content for you. I guess it's hard because you have to make the content, right? So
yeah. Well, it might feel like that at some point. I might just have Aspiring Spike on my payroll and just he brews up a deck for me every 2 days.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you, have you gotten into Chinese Magic cards at all? Because like I'm in China and you can get simplified and even traditional Chinese Magic cards all the time. So have you started collecting and reading Chinese Magic cards yet?
I haven't, but when I go to when I go to Magic events, there are Chinese people there. So I actually just go up and like speak with them. But no, actually, I've actually had a few Chinese people try to give me Chinese cards saying like, use these or whatever. But the most interesting thing is recently this week, a Chinese person messaged me saying, "Hi, I've been stealing your videos to upload to a Chinese YouTube site, and they've been getting
it's probably Bilibili, yeah,
Bilibili, and they're asking me for copyright, for me to transfer copyright, or give them rights to steal my content, basically, so they can get paid." I looked at it and I was like, yeah, just take the money, because they were my videos on Bilibili are getting like 2,000 views a video, and I looked up and it's like actually just $1 for 2,000 views, or like, or maybe even less. I don't even remember. Yeah, it's $0.50. Yeah, I looked up. It's like $0.50 converted for 1,000 views. I was like, is it really gonna get that big? I was like, just take it, because he was like translating stuff and.
Oh, you mean he was subtitling and doing stuff along with it?
I don't know, because I don't have full access to Bilibili, because he sent me a link to the channel, but I can't really.
All right, shoot me the link later. I'll check it out. I'll check it out and I'll let you know. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was interesting. At least it's nice to know that it's good enough to be to be stolen.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm glad people are like spreading the word of like HarryMTG in China. That's awesome.
Yeah. But apart from that, no, not too many efforts. I'm just kind of, yeah.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I think that's also because your videos are pretty accessible. So it's like, even if someone doesn't understand English, they could probably just like enjoy it, right? Because Magic players, you know how they are. We can just read images. So
yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, 100%. It definitely helps. I think being short as well makes it more manageable. But I'm interested to see if they can understand the way I talk, because I feel like I do speak quite fast in the videos sometimes.
Okay. That's awesome, man. I'm gonna have to check out your stuff on Bilibili as well. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's basically like the Chinese version of YouTube. There's different platforms, but I think I would say the closest to it. And they have those bullet subtitles. I guess that really never took off in North America or in the West, but that stuff is crazy. Like, I always have to turn it off, but I know a lot of Chinese audiences are just really into having that on all the time. You know what I mean, right?
I'm not sure.
So when you watch a video, like the comments in Bilibili, the comments are actually just scrolling across the screen, like into the video, right?
Oh, wow. So
they're actually just, they just look like people are just adding subtitles to the video, and they're just, when you have videos with a lot of comments, they just look like there's always a sea of things just like swimming across the video. So that's what I mean by the bullet comments. So Bilibili actually innovated that, I believe, but that's definitely not something that people in the West like ever experienced, but it's very common in China. So
yeah, I'm not sure it'd work on YouTube because there's so many bots nowadays spamming junk. So I don't know if it would work.
Yeah. So about the learning Mandarin, like, has that been I mean, from the few sentences you spoke, it sounds pretty good. So has that been hard to pick up a language, or has it been like pretty easy for you?
It's definitely helpful that I think I'm lucky in a sense that I just pay someone to come to my house twice a week.
No doubt. One-on-one instruction has got to be the best, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so it helps. I think the biggest thing is confidence. I'm not really... something that is a big skill is, I'm used to being embarrassed in front of a lot of people live, and I'm also used to hate. So I don't like a lot of Chinese. It's interesting because I've spoken to a lot of Chinese people in the street nowadays. I get kind of two responses. People telling me, wow, your Chinese is so great. And people saying, I can't understand you. Yeah, I think just having confidence really helps, and just also stealing. I mean, I steal phrases as well, kind of, to try and make people speak with me. So I have methods. What's interesting is in the UK, I don't know if it's like people are quite shy to speak Chinese to foreigners, but I just say, 你能懂我的意思吗? And then...
Do you understand what I'm saying? Right?
Yeah, and then they will speak with me. So maybe, I don't know what I'll say, but I'll say like something, and maybe they don't reply, and then I'll say, do you understand what I'm saying? And then they'll speak with me. Because I think there's a big, maybe Chinese people get like oh, ni hao, I can speak Chinese, but so maybe they think like I'm messing with them, and then maybe that kickstarts it. But yeah, I've had some very awkward moments. Like I was speaking with someone in a restaurant, and then he just said, 你说什么? And just didn't speak.
What are you saying, right? Basically.
Yeah. And then just like kind of not wanting to speak Chinese to me, it's just very awkward, but you just got to shrug it off, speak with other people, kind of thing. Anything else interesting happen in Chinese? Not really. No. I think the coolest thing is when I came home from Legacy Barcelona. There's a shuttle bus that goes from Heathrow to my town, and it was I actually came in late, so I was trying to catch the last bus, and it didn't show up. Apparently, the bus driver got COVID or something. It was a very, very sketchy, canceled bus, and there was a Chinese person who was also going to be on the bus, and I used Mandarin to kind of like book a taxi or share a taxi with them back. By coincidence, actually, by coincidence, is they live like 2 minutes away from me, which is really unlikely because I live in a really weird part of my town. Mm-hmm. So that kind of thing is cool. Just having confidence to speak with people is a big deal. I think that helps.
I think it's also a cultural thing where Chinese folks might be more alien to like people just talking to them on the street. I feel like because I kind of grew up. By the way, I was born in Taiwan. I grew up in Canada, so I definitely have seen different things culturally too. And it's the reason why I say that is because like I think in Chinese culture you really don't really get approached by a stranger for almost any reason unless they're asking you for money or they're asking for directions. If they're trying to like make conversation with you, it's usually very out of the ordinary. The other thing I'll say is that, like, you know how there's those YouTube, not YouTube, but just like TikToks or like small short videos where like people will just like talk to somebody on the street and like give them something. Like they're kind of cringe, honestly. It's like, you know, like they say I need money, and then like people like they there's like a random act of kindness, and then they repay them with like $50, kind of like the 2023 version of Mr. Beast, right? Back in the day. And those videos are like pretty popular in China. And I think it's and like when people just take the Western videos and then subtitle into Chinese, I feel like that's because it's very unusual for that to ever happen in China. Whereas I feel like in the West, like you could just get approached for like random reasons, and like people are kind of used to reacting or responding on the street, right? So I think it's also like a different cultural thing. So it might not be like people are making fun of your Chinese or anything. It might just be other reasons too. That's all I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah. I actually don't speak with like strangers. I mean I only speak with like clerks, store clerks, or like waitresses. Like I go to Chinese shops and I try to speak with the
I love that you say that they're not strangers just because they work in a store or something.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, but like, you get what I mean. Like I don't stop people in the street. I don't have that type of confidence. I mean confidence to speak to like the cashier.
Got it.
But yeah, I do agree. I'm not surprised. I also have friends that I call. There's actually a video game that I also use. It's kind of random. I heard there's a game called VR Chat. I don't know if you know it. It's like a kind of a weird game. I don't. It's like a virtual reality game. And I read online somewhere that like, oh, Chinese people use it to hang out. So I like went on it. And there's just like Chinese, like somehow I can connect to lobbies in China. And I can just speak with people from, like, actually from China. So like I'll literally, I've spoken to
like
so many people. It's like the new
chat roulette, only it's like safe, right, for people to use.
Like Omegle or something. Like I've spoken to so many Chinese people who don't know one word of English, and I'm just like, it's the best way because I literally can't cheat. I have to use 100% Chinese words, or they'll have no clue what I'm saying. So that stuff as well has helped a lot. Again, just confidence.
Yeah. Hey, well, Harry, thank you so much for talking to me today. I feel like I've learned so much about you, maybe a little too much. I say that in the most jokingest ways possible. Seriously, it's really great talking to you and just kind of learning about a little bit of your slice of life and your Mandarin skills and your magic YouTube ascent. I have no doubt that if you really wanted to, you could get 100K, and then you have to figure out where you want to go after that, right? Do you want to get like 500K? Do you want to get the next plaque or a million or whatever? But yeah, like just in terms of just real quick, like what's the best place for people to find you on the internet where you would like to be found?
Ooh, YouTube, HarryMTG. It's all that matters.
I love that. I love that singular focus. Thank you so much, Harry, for taking the time, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. You too.